Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Michael here with MMOBomb.com, sitting here at the My.com booth with Obsidian Development Director Eric. How you doing, Eric?
Good. How are you?
Now, Eric, you just showed me a presentation here of Skyforge, the MMORPG you guys are working with in conjunction with My.com and Alad's team. Can you tell us a little bit about it, a little bit about what Skyforge is about?
Sure, I'd love to. So Skyforge is a brand new Sci-Fi Fantasy MMO RPG. So we've got a mix of science fiction, right? The best elements of science fiction, the giant city you saw, and fantasy elements, right? So we can have fantastic spells, creepy monsters, cool fantasy settings, castles, the sunken monastery you played in, everything like that. It's an action combat game, so a lot different than traditional MMOs. Mouse look, putting a lot of the player's actions and abilities on the mouse buttons, and then supplemental abilities, so it's not just a walk up to the monster, run your activities, you know, run your 1 through 5 keys and wait till it dies or you dies. It's a lot of moving around, being mindful of your combos, that sort of stuff.
Now, with action combat, we've seen a lot of MMOs sort of start to take that position with action combat. Is there any sort of telegraphed attacks or telegraph abilities that players will need to dash out of the way? Is there dashing in Skyforge?
Yeah, we do. We have telegraphed abilities. They're not like WildStar's telegraphs where we display them on the ground, but you see a monster do a larger cast, a large animation to tell you something big is coming. You'll see visuals in the game telling you to get out of the way. Either players, right, a lot in PvP, they'll cast a big area of effect ability or something like that. The ice fields you saw the Cryomancer doing, missiles coming down from the gunner, things like that. That stuff's all there in the world. You can see it, react to it. It's a very head-up display with the action combat. We're not focused on playing your number keys, right? It's looking at what's in the world, reacting situationally, and then using your abilities to get out of the way, right? Whether that's an ability that moves you or teleports you or a dash, or maybe it's an ability you've augmented. Like the Cryomancer can take his normal dash, right? You get 3 of those as any character, but he gets an ice slide. So now he's got a dash that's faster, takes him farther out of the way, and also leaves a stasis field, so any monster or character trying to pursue him through that slowed down.
With Skyforge, you are a immortal. You start off as an immortal, which is different. You usually start off as a mortal, becoming an immortal. Yes. But you're working up your way to becoming a god of sorts. Can you explain that system and how that actually works in the game?
Yeah, so with the game, one of the things we want to do is that's the player promise, right? You play these games to escape and be super awesome, right? You're not a guy stuck in a cubicle, right, 8 hours a day or whatever. You go into a world, you're immortal. You can take on these larger-than-life creatures, fight in these epic battles. You die and you res, right? So in almost any game, you're not insta-killed, right? You're essentially immortal. So we just skip forward to that stuff. The world's story is one where the planet Aeolon was once protected by a greater god. That god is now gone, right? So we have some dramatic license to then have a conflict going on. Worshippers in the world of Skyforge are the source of a god's power. So you have an entire world full of worshippers that's now undefended, and hostile gods are rushing to attack it. There are still lesser gods, less powerful gods, NPCs on the planet, and the players, the immortals on the planet that are trying to defend it. So as they're fighting off these enemies and gaining power, their goal is to become a god that's strong enough to fight off these major invasions and take part in these huge battles and defend their planet.
Now, when the preview that you showed to us today, there was an interesting system whereby you would view an entire world and you kind of viewed all these events, these worshippers kind of like pleading for you to help them. Can you explain a little bit about how you actually progress through the game and how you go about navigating the world of Skyforge?
Yes. So the central interface for the player's activities in the world is the room you describe, the Divine Observatory, right? And that's that map view that shows you all the events and activities that are open to you at any given time. So this is PvE activities, group stuff, solo stuff, PvP content, you name it. Any dynamic events are up, and you have a god's eye view of that. You can look at that. It's updated periodically, but it gives you a quick look at everything that's available to you. What we focused on is creating a game that allows players to do the things they want to do when they want to do them. More and more gamers have a lot more distractions, whether it's work, commitments at home, stuff like that, and they don't always have the time to just play a game for 100 hours. You know, over the course of a couple weeks, right? Just bury themselves in it and be wandering around the world and see everything that's in there, right? It's easier if you can just go look at this map. I've only got 30 minutes. I'm going to jump in and play this. Or, hey, it's a weekend. I want to explore one of the big open world zones. I know I'm going to be in there for 10, 20 hours. I'm going to commit to that, right? I can look at it. I can click on it. I know that I'm going into that type of activity, and I'm set. And I'm going to get the thing I wanted to play. Rather than in a lot of games, you have a very micro view of the world around you, and you don't always know if I click on a quest giver or if I accept an invite to a party, you know, am I committed to these guys for 2 weeks, or am I committed for the next 10 minutes until we take down that little, you know, that elite and move on?
It's interesting that you talked about the world and having like these different instances and things that you can group up and go into. You mentioned that you were able to jump into these different scenarios or zones essentially. And through the demo, we saw examples of small dungeons that took just half an hour to an hour, something like that. But then you mentioned these larger zones, these zones that could take multiple hours. Is it safe to say that while you can jump around in the world of Skyforge, it's not just like an instance dungeon MMO?
Yeah, it's definitely safe to say. It's not, Skyforge is a mix of both of those activities, right? It's not purely an open world, explore it, end-to-end MMO, but it's also not just a bunch of little instances. There are big open world instances that are persistent, that have activities and people in them all the time in a permanent state. That's going on that you can adventure in for hours and hours and hours. And there's also the smaller, 15, 30, 45-minute, 2-hour slices of gameplay. And what we've tried to do is express that to the players in a way that makes sense to them so they can make an informed choice about the activities they want to do.
Let's talk a little bit about classes and class progression. Skyforge seems to have a very different approach to class progression. I never saw an example of levels in Skyforge, but I did see something that was very sort of, to me, reminiscent of almost Path of Exile level of customization and skill trees, where you can choose different things. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so with Skyforge, we've taken a unique approach to the class system. We wanted to remove that early choice you make. You've got the least knowledge about the game, and you select your class, right? And then you're committed to it. You play it for 10, 12 hours, and you figure out, what you really like about the game, what gameplay you really like, and you're stuck with it. You've invested this time, you've got to re-roll a character, go through a bunch of content you already did to catch back up with your friends, and it's frustrating. And it's a weird decision to make when you've got the least amount of information. So what we've done is we've removed that normal class restriction. The game will ship with over 10 classes at launch. 3 of those will be unlocked for the player. You can move between those classes at any time, and you can put your points and develop out those classes in any way you want at any time. That's done through the interface we call the Ascension Atlas. There are 2 layers to the Ascension Atlas, so you have what's happening within a class, the Cryomancer, the Paladin, or the Lightbinder, right, that you can develop out, or you can just explore a little bit if you want to just see what that role is like or what that gameplay is like. And then there's a second level, an upper level, that's your development of your character. And this is the part of the Atlas where you're developing more general skills that are broader. These are the abilities that your character has regardless of what class you're playing. This is the strength and the power of your character that's carried from class to class. So no matter what class you're playing, you're never below a level. You're never a level 3 Paladin and a level 40 Lightbinder. Right, that just doesn't happen in Skyforge. You can be a Paladin with a ton of abilities because you invested a ton of time into that, and with very few Lightbinder abilities because you're not really into that class. But both of those are just as combat viable if you go into a situation. So it gives the players a ton of freedom to pick what they want to do, right? All the nodes on the Ascension Atlas are visible to the players at the very start, so you can explore it and just look what happens if I take this path of development or that path of development, or I really want to unlock this class, what do I have to do? Or there's the God form. I want to get my God form, right? That's kind of the ultimate expression of your power. Your character is visibly stronger and bigger than the others around it, right? That's a super cool thing to get. We're gonna show you the roadmap to get there, right? And then you can choose what you're gonna do and what you're gonna invest in to get there. Or if you really want to develop out towards a certain ability you've seen somebody else use within a class, you can do that as well.
Awesome. With that being the primary form of progression, is there item progression, anything outside of that besides just putting the points into the skill trees?
We have other forms of progression too. We're not showing those at the show today, and so we're not talking about those in a great bit of detail, but there are other progressions just other than just the 2 levels of the Ascension Atlas, and we'll talk about those more later on.
Great. Now, really quickly, Obsidian, of course, is known for doing really in-depth single-player RPG experiences with a lot of, lore and story. You're working in conjunction with Alloud's team to bring Skyforge here to the West. What are you actually contributing? What is Obsidian contributing to the project?
So Obsidian's collaboration with the Alloud's team is mainly focused in 3 areas. We have a team that's developing player classes for the game, so we're developing initial classes for the game at launch and post-launch. We're developing instance content, so additional instances for the game, and working with the team on that. We're also providing westernization support. On the story side, we do provide input, but it's not something we're doing the heavy lifting on. That's the team in Moscow. They're doing a great job with that stuff. We provide input, make sure those characters resonate, make sure the touchstones are solid, but we're not writing a massive story for an MMORPG.
Do you have any sort of slated time for beta, or when you guys want to release the game to the public?
So our beta sign up is up now on Skyforge.com, but we don't have a deadline, or we have lots of deadlines internally, but we don't have a date for beta yet that we've announced.
Okay, so no beta day, no official announced window or anything like that.
Sign up now and you'll hear about it.
Understandable. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and I look forward to hearing more about Skyforge. Thanks. Appreciate it.